flies fast. When I say now, it's almost past. Days go by, years go by, life goes by, you got no time to rest. I wonder how the time flies fast. When I say now, it's almost past. Days go by, years go by, life goes by, you got no time to rest. I wonder how the time flies fast.
Here we go. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Neg2Pos Show. We have a wonderful show today. We have a wonderful guest. And I have to say, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here today. And that's the God's honest truth. So please introduce yourself and tell the people about you, about your greatness. Just tell them about your greatness.
I am Glendora Devine. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I am a parenting strategist, and I am an author. And I'm a mom and a wife, and, you know, I am blessed.
And phenomenal. Watch the watch on the table. And she is phenomenal because she did some work, and she helped me to see myself, the right direction I could possibly go with myself. And I feel that some of the work we've done on me has totally unlocked me. And that's why I asked her to come in today so we could talk about family mental health, because that's so important. Because once family, and I think most will agree with me, once you establish family unity, I think 60% of our problems will be gone. What do you think?
Yep, unity, exactly.
Yeah, when we talk about
unity,
us as a culture.
Exactly. That's 60%, because the other 40% is how we're communicating.
There you go.
Within the unit.
So what got you to want to be a counselor? And tell us about that trek right there.
Well, when people ask me what got me to be a counselor, the only story that really comes to my head is when I graduated with my master's degree. We had a graduation party ceremony, and we got ready to do a toast. And my husband stood up and he said, "She finally can get paid for being in people business."
What you
so
say?
I always was in somebody's business trying to help them. I just always didn't get paid for it.
You know, that goes right with if you could turn your passion into money.
Right.
Is that what you're in line with? Okay. And then, so when did you start your practice and where you at?
Well, I started the practice in 2007, and it's actually, we went full on in 2010, and it's located in Henry County, which is like 30 minutes south of Atlanta. Okay,
I'm going to make sure you shout out later to have the information they can find you. Because I looked her up in Yelp, and I was, so here's how I got to you. I went to my primary care provider, and I was in the office, and I says, I really think I need some help now. And they says, well, you can pick who you want. And I went through Yelp, and I looked you up. I looked at everybody in the area, and I said, I want to stay close to home, and I wanted somebody who could understand what I've been going through. And I found her, and I went straight to the office. I think within 3 days after seeing my doctor, I went to the office, and I started getting help. You know, and the reason I got help is for my kids, for my grandkids. For my grandkids, because it's about the future. I didn't want them to steer away from me because they thought I was different, or the family didn't feel it was okay to be around me. So what I did was I went and got some help, and I recommend everybody go get some help. What are we lacking when it comes to help? And tell me what you found out since you opened your office, why we don't. And how did some of your patients come to you? Was it through the court, or, you know?
Okay.
Please share that.
I think, let's see, there's about 3 questions he gave me.
I'm sorry. I'll reiterate. You hit the first one, I'll come back.
Okay, so the first one, I think you said, why do I feel like we're lacking as a culture?
Absolutely.
And I think that you're pertaining that to actually going into getting help, counseling.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So for one, as a culture, we wasn't actually encouraged to go speak to somebody outside of our family. It was almost basically taboo if you did that. It really was, you go ahead and you're going to be all right, period. Go eat a peppermint and sit down somewhere.
Right.
Pretty much, or go talk to the pastor. And the reality of it is that the pastor is a man, just like everybody else, he do what we do, put our pants on one leg at a time, right? So and the reality of it too is that we honestly need to talk to somebody that is not in our family, that is not a friend, so we can get some really clear guidance on what should I do next, or how should I approach it, or is this the best feeling that I can feel with the situation. But too many times we only go to our friends and our family, and for the most part it comes back up in our face from whatever we all said, or it on left who we told, and it's spread throughout our entire family or all of our friends. So the best thing that we can do is get away from the stigmatism of talking to somebody that you don't know is wrong or bad, and go ahead and talk to a professional that actually is trained to do this. The other thing about when we go talking to our family and our friends, we're dumping our negative energy onto them.
Right.
And then we leave them and they're feeling it. They're feeling what we just gave them. When you go and talk to a professional, we're actually is trained to let your negative energy come out and stay right there in that room. It's not to come home with us. So that's another good reason that you can go and you should go and talk to another good reason you should go and talk to a professional opposed to telling it to your friends and your family.
Okay. Hey, this is Neg2Pos Show. This is Paul Posey. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Paul Posey? This is Anthony Moore.
Hey, AJ, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. And you know what? I'm doing better watching your show. Your transparency is fucking amazing. I mean, it's one of those things.
You can tell he's one of my Marine Corps friends because he used that language. Thanks, AJ. Me and AJ go back to
but your transparency, your transparency is powerful because it's one of those things that exposes the vulnerability so that we can get to the root of the problem.
Absolutely.
And your guest is an excellent guest, and she can understand that sometimes we have to weaken ourselves or expose ourselves, not weaken, but expose ourselves and be honest with our truth.
You know the greatest thing about you calling in, AJ, is that you knew me before and you know me now. I think that's so great because me and AJ go all the way back to 1993, 94, 93. Is it 93 when we met?
93.
Yeah,
93.
And we've been friends ever since I was in the Marine Corps. So he knows me from beginning to end. And I appreciate you calling in. Did you want to share anything else, AJ?
No, but believe me, I'm going through some stuff right now that's relatable, and I get it. And I think if a lot of people would, just be realistic with their truth, with their honesty,
all right,
then they would have, a path to getting back.
And that's what we're here for, AJ. I appreciate that. All right, I'll do a follow-up call on the way to the house.
Okay.
All right, thanks, AJ. Bye.
I think the main thing that he was pointing out is the reality that men don't get the opportunity to honestly place themselves in a situation of vulnerability, especially our color.
You know what I said about the word vulnerability?
Yeah, you don't like it.
And speaking as a man, I think when I hear the word vulnerable, you're asking me to let my guard down. And some of the times in my life, I've left my guard down and I've taken it to the face. And that makes it stop. I don't want it anymore. You want me to be vulnerable, but the consequences is the door is open and I'm open to attack.
Yes, but at the same time, that is when you are living your honest truth.
Yeah.
So when you're open to attack, we got to be mindful. Just like for me to sit here and be live streaming, it's vulnerable.
Right.
I'm leaving myself open to attack. And the reality of it is, and what I say, well, what would they attack me on? Well, they can attack me on that I don't speak proper English. Because I don't.
Right.
Let's keep talking. You don't hear. So, But at the reality,
you ain't caught it by now, right? Give it about 10 minutes.
So, but the reality is like, at the same time, I know what I'm doing, and I know how to do what I do.
Right.
And I help a lot of people. And it's not because I get to say I helped a lot of people. They come back and they tell me, because of what you did, because of what you said, I did what you said. So they understand. So I have to get into the point where, I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to get backlash. But at the same time, that just means that you ain't my people.
Right.
And so for our men to get in a situation and say, you know what? I'm literally going through something and I gotta try and get a grip on me. And let me go and find somebody that I can really talk to, that I'm going to place myself in a vulnerable position. Because I think out of you coming into the office, and I really try and keep that in mind, especially when I get black men into my office, I'm trying to honestly make sure that when we're done within that hour, that they still know that they are every bit of man that they were when they first entered into the office before they opened up their mouth to me.
Right.
So I'm really trying to be mindful, and I commend each and every one that come in, because I know you doing this against what you were honestly raised to believe in. As in our culture as a whole.
Right.
So for you to come in, first of all, let me get rid of some of the anxiety that you might have for being there, and let me remind you, I see a king. Let's come on with your kingship.
Absolutely. So that let's go to the next question is, well first let me say that let's be proactive, not reactive. And so that's going to lead to my next question, because I could have did this years ago, but I was sitting at my house in my cave for at least 4 years by myself, in my little tornado, like I like to call my PTSD. Me and my PTSD was in a tornado for years. And one, I didn't know. I had an idea, but I didn't know. And it was seeping out in my actions on my way to work, working with others, dealing with my family, dealing with my ex. And I didn't know what to do. But at some point, when I had that conversation at my job, when I left, just before I left the VA, is someone told me, you need to go get help. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't hesitate. Within days, I was in your office because I remembered thinking about what's truly important to me. And it was other people that was important to me that got me into the office. So my second question was, how do they normally end up in your office, since we're living under this myth and stigma, and what are you seeing that's getting them to come to the office?
So literally what I'm seeing as far as men coming into the office, a lot of them are being led by the woman. So they're coming in with the spouse, and this is like, again, this is the final straw, because they've been going through so much turmoil or dysfunction, and this is like, okay, my last attempt to save my marriage.
Yes.
Or the last attempt to save this relationship. So that would bring men in flat out. That brings them in. Another one that will bring them in is, honestly, they're using their insurance. You decided to use your insurance.
Yeah.
And I am a provider. Ha ha. So, and honestly, when Paul called the office, I had therapists that worked for me, and he literally got assigned to one of them, but she wasn't a provider for his type of insurance, and since she's not a provider for that insurance, I mean, it was like, no, he got to go on my schedule, because we're going to do what we're supposed to do the right way. And that's honestly how he got on my schedule. He actually was coming for somebody else, but that wasn't going to work because I don't run no shady practice.
There you go.
so she had to come see me. But so that and also another way that I'm really getting the clients and men, honestly, it's word of mouth. I have worked with them, and they will tell their partner. They'll tell their boy when they see their boy going through something. Hey man, go see this lady. They'll go say they do me like that. So they'll come in like that.
So therapy as a deterrent from divorce, is that really working? Because I know when my ex wanted me to go to therapy, and when we sat down, it was just too much to talk about, and I rejected it because I felt like this is the vulnerable part. So I said, I'm coming to therapy, and then she hits me with 1,000 things I've done for the last 15 years, and I'm supposed to respond to it. There's no response to it. So it was just.
Yeah, so I don't do all that.
Yeah.
We ain't doing all that in my office.
Okay.
We're not going to.
So
I
what
don't
do
have
you?
time.
So
what I do
recommend?
is I try and listen to what was the last argument that actually got you into my office.
Right.
Because the last one is really piggybacking off of all the other ones. You know, it piggybacks off the elephant in the room because we're really not communicating correctly or effectively. So what I like to tell people is that, you know, we do this high school marriage type of deal. We go from high school to these friendships or whatever, and then we go, oh yeah, I'm in love, I want to be married, but literally we do not try and practice what is the blueprint for the marriage.
We don't know.
I have had clients in my office. I said, well, have you ever wrote out your beliefs and morals, you know, separately, like what do you really believe in? And they say, oh yeah, we did right before we got married. We was going through marriage counseling with the pastor. I said, okay, well, where is that? Oh, it's in the pastor's Bible. And I'm like, do you understand? That's your blueprint. That's why you're not communicating.
That's your blueprint.
Yeah,
it's not a marker for his book.
No.
Well, but doesn't that go back to what was modeled for them to understand what family and what marriage is?
But see, it was for our community, the black community.
I like the way you said that.
It was never modeled healthy.
Right.
So, yes, it does go back to what you were raised and how you were raised. But at the same time, when are you going to decide what you really believe and how you really can work with somebody? Not what your mama did or how your dad did. And a lot of the men really are looking at, you know, I really didn't have nobody to teach me and show me affection. This way, nurturing affection this way. They didn't teach me how to really have a real relationship. They told me how to get women. They told me how to be with women to a certain degree, but they didn't teach me how to love on a woman.
Right.
You see?
And when that's absent, which I lived through that in my life, and I try to explain to some people, when that part is absent, no telling what you're going to get out of that person.
Right.
Right. They're just incomplete or underdeveloped. I like to say is not enough was poured into me about relationships and love. I didn't know how to love, and I didn't know how to receive love. And so the unfortunate thing is, if you embark on a marriage too soon, then you're practicing on the person that you say you love.
Exactly.
That's how I see it.
And the other thing about it, like I like to tell couples, I said, you know, when you get married, you do high school talking. You still communicate in high school language. You know, you don't communicate as an adult. You don't sit, nobody is bowing down. Nobody is like trying to change the way they interact. So when I get a married couple in my office that's going through it, first thing I try and do is hear what's both sides. And then I also let them know, pretty much like I let parents know, if you want this behavior to change, look at yourself and decide what are you going to do to change. Because this is a two-party party. It's not just the one person that's doing all the extra. It's still, even if they is cheating or if they're withholding money, whatever they're doing, you're reacting to it. So how are you reacting high school? Are you reacting petty? Are you encouraging them to keep it going?
Right.
So I say, I need everybody to take a moment and step back and look at what you're doing. I had earlier last week, I had a couple come in, and the lady, first thing she wanted to say, oh, he's abusive. He's verbally abusive. When he get mad, he get right in my face, and he's just going in. And I was like, really? I said, oh, so you a little R. Kelly? And he's like, what?
Know what you said?
I asked him, I said, oh, you just trying to control somebody, ain't you? Huh, is that what you really trying to do? And he was like, oh, I never looked at it like that. I said, that's what that is. Anytime you got to get up in her face to say all what you got to do, you're trying to control her. You're not trying to allow her to be who she is. And again, then I immediately looked at her and I said, I bet your tongue is off the chain. I bet you was talking to him like you don't even know this man. She was like, yes,
so when you
I
say
am.
Teenage, high school, that's exactly what we were doing back then.
And,
no level, just no boundaries.
No boundaries.
No verbal boundaries. Just say what comes to your mind and then your mouth.
And take it all the way to the left. And then the killing part is, so I gave them homework assignments. And I said, you know what the homework assignment is? In every room, I want y'all to identify an object. And if you start to argue, I want you to pick up the object. And if somebody pick up the object, that means shut up. Mm-hmm. Stop it right then. And so they was like, okay. So she came back and she like, oh, well, Mr. Vine, he wasn't able to make it, but he really wanted to come because he wanted to tell you he's doing it. We had 2 arguments. The first one, I picked up the object. He immediately stopped and we deaded it. I said, okay. 2 days later, we had another argument. He picked up the object, and I kept going. I said, let me tell you something.
Truth.
Let me tell you something. And that's why he wanted to come, because he wanted to tell on her. I said,
She switched the days and told me, we only go on Thursday.
Right, so she can't.
Really, right.
So I had to tell her, I said, listen, if you literally have an issue, when he get up in your face out of anger, and he going in on you.
Right.
Then you literally going to have to be quiet and do your part. He can't continue. He can't do the homework and then you don't do the homework.
Right.
Because what's going to happen? He's going to say, "Why am I trying?" Mm-hmm. And then he's going to revert back to not trying. Mm-hmm. So what's the end? What do you really want? Because either we're going to encourage him or we're going to discourage him.
Man, that's really heavy because you're telling them how to work together. Mm-hmm. But we hear people saying that relationships are a work in progress, but they don't know the assignments. Mm-hmm. And if they had the assignments to work on, then they would actually be doing work. But I don't think it's like you're going to be doing harsh work for 20 years.
No.
It's almost like a prison sentence to be in a relationship. I think it is if you're not doing proper work.
And if you're not working on yourself.
Right.
It is if you're not working on yourself. The reality of life
is
that it's constant changing.
Right.
We are always changing. We go from kids to adults to elders. Mm-hmm. We're always changing. And it's so ridiculous for us to sit around and not honestly honor the fact that we're changing mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. We honor the physical. We'll say that in a minute, but we will not really say how we're changing emotionally, how we're changing physically. So,
but doesn't that come from a reflection and self-evaluation at some point? Besides just December going into January, it's like, hey, I know my body's changing. I know the foods that I can't eat. The foods, like I believe there's some foods that I know just do it for me, like Taco Bell. Okay. I have Taco Bell when I'm not feeling regular.
Okay, exactly.
I live like a mile away from Taco Bell. After I eat, I have to go straight to the house and take care of my business because I know what Taco Bell does to me.
Exactly.
Those are the
things. It didn't used to do that.
Right, but those are the things. Right, it didn't used to do that. So now I know I'm working with what I'm working with. So same thing in your relationships and relationship with your family. You have to be able to say, hey, let's work on communicating. Let's define communication.
What is positive communication?
Right, let's take it back.
And then what we do to define, because we're going to do this, we're going to have a conscious thought and say, we're going to actually work on this together for communicating, right?
Right.
So now we're going to say, okay, well, what's wrong with the communication? So, and you might be like, well, I didn't think that was wrong with it. I get that so much. I didn't think that was wrong with it. The reality is we're changing. So you used to be able to call me MF when you're joking, right?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm got older, and I don't feel like I represent that no more.
Right.
Or we should be joking like that anymore.
Right.
So can we acknowledge that? Yeah, let's not do that one no more. I don't feel good, you know. And then so the reality is like, well, you used to feel good, but the reality is I'm older. I have changed. I am trying to change myself. I am trying to find things that I want to relate to. So you used to call me babe. Well, you know what? I don't want you to call me babe no more. Because just call me my name. I kind of miss hearing my name, not babe.
Right.
You know. And again,
you can't call me boo.
Don't call me boo.
Don't call me boo.
Yeah. Can you call me in my name? And so, sometimes even the reason that is such a big deal in communication because it's power in your name.
Absolutely, it's power in your words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, when you are called something, you want to be called something of pride, something of courage, something of strength, of honor. And as you go through life and you go through hardships and you overcome things, you want to be reminded who you are. And MF ain't who you are.
Right. Especially, wait a minute.
Who you are.
Especially, they used to call you that as a child, you know.
Yeah.
And that was a part of the language back then. When you've outgrown it, it does. And that was one of the things that bothered me at my job. Is somebody called me that because I remember being called that as a child. And it wasn't a term of endearment.
Right.
You know, well, it was kind of, I guess she thought it was a term of endearment.
Yeah.
But but as I got older, you know, there's certain things that I just don't do anymore. But I also tell people this too. You know, if you're not telling your kids the change is coming, and then you hit them with change, then you have a problem. So for everything you foresee, if it's a milestone of every 5 years, you're different now. You have to do different things. You're going to have to wear some deodorant. You know, starting on this birthday, you're going to start wearing deodorant. You're going to start cleaning your room on your own. You're going to start doing your own laundry. Same thing is in your relationships.
Right.
You know, I can't just keep taking you to work. You need to get your stuff together and do that. I can't keep paying for this.
Or look, we both work and we both hungry. So how can you cook some meals and how can I cook some meals?
Right. So teamwork.
How can you use a crock pot and how can I use a crock pot?
Right.
You know,
I've got a crock pot. Now I had it in my house for about a year. I haven't used it yet.
You're hurting yourself.
I'm gonna take some crock pot classes.
It ain't in the class. Just throw it in there and keep it moving.
All right, then. So I'm gonna set this. Between now and next week, I will cook something in my crock pot.
Hey.
Because I have been very determined in the words that I say. What comes from my mouth actually is the things that I do. And that's why I'm here right now, is because I made a conscious effort for change and I went to get the proper help for it. So I'm not going to ask a mechanic to fix my computer. I'm not going to ask a geek guy to fix my car. So I do take the steps and go to the right people to get the right things done so it can help me out. I'm telling you, we do a lot of, life is pretty much can be a straight line. From a young child, you have some goals that you want to accomplish in life and who you want to be. You're going to go left and right off. This is the line. You're going to go left and right, left and right. And if you're lucky, you're going to get at that right spot you want to be. And that's where I'm at. And that's why I'm so excited to have you here, because I remember wanting to be who I am today. That's why I was like 10 years old. I said I wanted to be a truck driver. I got my CDL. I wanted to be a photographer. I got a camera. I wanted to be a Marine. I've done everything, and I had to come back to who I was and what I believed in, but I had created so much junk along the way that I had to dodge and fix, and people I took along with me. So this is what happens when you don't go get the help, is because if you become a mom or a dad, you taking people that you've created on that journey with you.
Yes.
And that journey doesn't always have to go to the left and the right and left and the right. It can go right up the middle if you want to do it. Now, let me say this before somebody say it. Life ain't perfect. You are damn right. But it doesn't mean you don't have to try.
Exactly.
So what's our, you got a question for me?
Because
that's like a drop the mic moment. I believe in that because I'm living that. And people say it's easier said than done. I'm so annoyed by that. Well, let's take a call. Welcome to the Neg2Pos Show. This is Paul Posey. Hello?
Hey, I'm right here.
AJ, you called back?
I called back.
What's going on,
Y'all
AJ?
kill it. Y'all killing it.
We doing it, AJ?
Y'all killing it.
We trying. Did you want to share something else?
Hey, you know what, you guys. The thing that is resonating the most. The thing that's resonating the most is the honesty, and you gotta appreciate it, because when you're being real with yourself, you're being real with everybody else you're talking to.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everybody you're responsible to.
And you know, when you're not faking, who you are.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not faking who you are, you revealing the real you to the person you're trying to make a life with.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, AJ.
And I mean, you guys are being amazing at it. I mean, right now you're doing it in real time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's what's amazing about it. You're doing it in real time.
Thank you, AJ. All right, we good?
Hey, thank you.
You're welcome, AJ. All right, hey, I got something special for you today. Talk about doing your work. I've done some work like a year ago, sitting at the house, putting myself together, and I created this wonderful video to help you understand. I've got books out there, so check this out. Welcome back. I tell you what, I'm excited about that video. I hope you liked it too. That was part of me putting my life back together, was sitting down and learning something new. And I just kept learning things and applying them. So everything I'm learning to apply. And let's talk about something you helped me to apply. Let's talk about our books.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, let me go ahead and just go ahead and tell them about your book and why you wrote it.
My book is titled Leaving Legacies, Breaking the Disconnect Between Parents and Millennials. And the reason that I wrote the book is right after the Black Lives Matter movement started, I was trying to really find a way to help just make noise and, make sense out of what we can do better. And the thing that was really bothering me is that even though, we lost Trayvon Martin, we was losing people left and right, and only thing I kept thinking about is, what is the parents saying? What is the conversation to the children? How could we have gotten our children to not actually react to that mess that they was being involved with and respond differently and make it home? How could we have got them home? They are not leaving a legacy, they're dying. They're not leaving our legacy, they're leaving. So what can we do better? And it came to me, it's like, we gotta communicate. We gotta communicate better. So in my book, I just totally said, you know what? Honestly, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just gonna do it really quick and stick to the point. My whole point is about our communication. So the first thing I wanted to go over was communication patterns. And the reason I did that is because we as a culture was raised to know aggressive communication. We were taught aggressive communication.
Yep.
We live by aggressive communication. We did not live by or taught assertive communication. I really did not know about assertive communication until I actually got to college. And I'm like, oh, okay, you can talk like that. Well, what happens with all my cuss words?
So what I do with them?
What I do with them? And so, but the reality is that assertive communication is the basis for just saying how you truly feel and giving a solution to what you feel the problem is that can help you without blaming somebody, minimalizing, not taking accountability. It's just flat out, this is how I feel, and this is what made me feel like this, and this is really what I feel we can do, so we don't have to go down this road no more. So I thought that was like the main thing. Let me show you assertive, not aggressive, and point out. The next thing I wanted to go over was the parenting styles, because our culture know about old school, and the reality is that's not a parenting style. That's illegal.
What you said?
It's not. It never was.
That's not a parenting style.
Never was.
Old school is a dance, or old school is music, but that's not a parenting style. Okay.
You know, so the switches, the stitching cords, it's illegal, but it never was a parenting style, even though our culture adopted it. So I wanted to just point out, you know, these are the real ones. And again, I didn't know about them until I got to college. Okay. The next thing I wanted to go over is quality praise. That's a term I coined. And basically what quality praise is, the reality that our children today, with these cell phones and technology, they work our last nerves. And back in the day, I can recall my dad or an elder telling me, you know, get out of the room. I don't even want to see your face. I don't even want to look at you. And the thing about that today, it was okay when I was growing up, because when they say get out of my face, I don't want to see you, I literally had to go to my room, and there wasn't no connection with nobody else. It wasn't no cell phone for me to jump on social media and be talking to anybody about the situation I just had with my parent.
No outlets.
It was no outlets. It was, okay, I guess I'll go to sleep now. You know, it was that. It was not. But see, now we say, get out of my face, get out of here. The first thing they do is go jump on a computer, jump on a cell phone, hit social media, and they telling somebody. And one of the main things that's happening is, you reach out to somebody like that. Next thing you know, they're pulling up in front of your house, claiming that they're your friend. You thinking that you're your friend, and you leave and you caught up in sex trafficking. So that is not what we need to tell our children today, because sex trafficking is real. I'm also a sex offender specialist, but I only work with juveniles. So I'm real big on really like, what are we communicating and how we telling our children, and what outlets do they have, because it's people that's out here literally preying on them, and they're not celebrities. They're regular Joes, and they grabbing our children.
Absolutely. So like, you got to ask yourself, when was the last time you looked at the Predator website in your area? You might want to check that out, because they are looking for your kids. And if you're not communicating with them, they'll be more than happy to communicate with your kids, and then they come up missing.
Right. So we say, go to your room, and you're like, okay, well, I'll go to my room. They go to their room. They're on Fortnite. Next thing you know, they're talking to some pedophile, and you know, or they on PlayStation, and you know they got the access to talk on the internet.
Absolutely.
But you don't honestly know who they're talking to. So when you get mad at them and you send them up out of your face, who face you think they're really going into to release their feelings and their frustration?
So you should be like, come to my room. Let's come to this room together.
And sit down.
Right.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about it.
Right.
Did you want to hit one more topic?
Yeah, and so the next part I went into the book was talking about embracing social media, because what we do as parents is freak out. We freak out. It's him again. I'm just playing. So we freak out.
Hold on a second. The Neg2Pos Show. This is Paul. How are you?
Good evening, Paul. Charlie Pugh.
Hey, Charlie. How are you? You know, some of my man. I appreciate this.
How are you?
I'm doing outstanding, Charlie. How are you?
Man, all is well. All is well. I just tuned into your show, and I'm taking a look at you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Charlie's another Marine.
Okay.
And I had a chance to meet Charlie when I first got here, and his job is the Department of Labor. And I think you're almost done there, right? You set to retire?
Well, I could retire February the 23rd.
Ooh.
But you know it's good to have
Absolutely. And so the good thing about Charlie is I was just drawn to him. Even though I got a job, I would still go and hang out with Charlie. And, you know, I love you, Charlie. I love you. I love you, man. So did you have anything else for
man,
us?
I love you too, man.
Hey, did you have anything else for us, Charlie?
I beg your pardon?
Did you have anything else for us?
Well, I just tuned in. I just looked, and I just saw the show, and I like, you know what? Let me give Paul a call.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. You, I know you have done a lot for, as far as I've known you, you know, for the community, you know, the fatherhood program, and and all that. And so, man, I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you, Charlie. I appreciate you. So we're going to get back to the show, okay?
All right, take care of yourself.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye. Wow, you know, it really makes my heart feel good that he's an elder. I connect with anybody I'm supposed to connect with, because the universe will take you right where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And when you get there, they're going to have something for you. Whether it's a nugget or it's a gem or it's a street load of knowledge and wisdom, just show up. And one of the things I'm blessed that I did was get out the house.
Yes.
Get out your house. Get out your house and get out there in the world, because all your answers are in other people.
Yeah.
So did you finish?
Oh, well, I was going to go. So the other part that I was going over is like I was talking about the social media, because I wanted my take on it. I wanted parents to embrace it, because we're running from it. We don't like it. It's when we see something negative in our child phone, we lose it and not embrace it. So I'm giving you techniques on actually how to embrace it and use what you found in your child phone, even if it's negative. Use it to teach them about your belief, not punish them, and make it where they don't want to talk to you about it moving forward.
Right.
Yeah. So, and the main point of my book is to actually put your family on a mission. Mm-hmm. So I'm literally giving you steps on how to get your family on a mission, all the way down to the point of identifying who was actually in the family, because a lot of us got that twisted. Because too many people live with us, or we living with too many other people.
Them cousins.
Yeah.
That ain't your cousin.
So and we got the children calling everybody uncle and everybody auntie. So I'm really trying to narrow it down to see who really is in the family and who is the head.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about me and my book. I tell you, she asked me a great question, and I tell everybody, you know, you ask me, what do I do when I'm in my tornado? And I want to make sure that it's not me. I had some extreme trust issues on a professional level that happened to me like 3 years. It was a 3-year window. And I just had to get to the point where I needed to see exactly what was going on. So I started writing it down. And she asked me, could I write a book? And I was like, I don't know. I think I can. You remember that? Mm-hmm. I think I can. And she says, well, I want you to come back next week, and I want you to have 3 titles and 2 dates that you're going to stop working.
Yeah.
And I came back next week, and I wrote half this book in a week. And that's what insomnia does for you. It gives you an opportunity to get some things done. Now, it wasn't always grammatically correct, but I started telling my story to myself, and it turned into a book, and I wrote down everything that I remembered that hurt me.
Yeah.
And that was it, because when we go back to talk about family, there was no releasing what hurt me, which spawned me to be Iron Man, where I couldn't feel, and everything that I held dear was totally deep inside of me, and my family couldn't touch it.
Exactly.
They could not reach that part of me. And being in my tornado, I started writing the book, and then the achiever in me came back, because I was like dormant for years. And one of the things I did was I wrote 5 books. I said I was going to write 1. I had 3 titles, and I wrote 5 books in 2 months, because I had to get my story out, and I did it. Mm-hmm. And another thing that I did was in January, New Year's Eve, December 2016, I took all my Marine Corps stuff out the closet.
Did.
And I talk about achiever. If you've seen my awards, you know, my Love Me wall, you'll see that I have achieved some things in that 23 years in the Marine Corps, but I was so bitter and so angry and so hurt that relationship had turned on me that I left it in a box in the garage. But then through the work that the steps she gave me, that I started remembering these are the things I've already achieved, and I need to celebrate me.
Yes.
And that's what I did. So then I wrote the book, and then I wrote another book, and then another book. And then by time 2000 in May, I had 12 books.
Yeah, and I'm like, slow down.
Overachiever. But the idea was, it opened me up And that's the closest being vulnerable I could do, was to write it down. To hit send and put it on Amazon was another thing, but I had to go to the people that meant the most to me when I wrote those books. So I went to my siblings and I told my sister that I'm writing my book, and I told my brothers I'm writing a book, and then I wrote the book and I says, you guys got to read this and tell me what you think. And they was like, you did that. You did that. So ever since that I started writing, it has really done things for me, because most men don't journal.
They don't. And then after you went to the siblings, you went to the kids.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh yes.
It was all
yes.
about, okay.
Yes, because
through this.
yeah, because once you open one door to help your life, you got to open up another door. And when I opened up my kids' door, a couple of things happened. One, I felt good, but then I felt bad. I felt bad because I had to explain to them all my decision-making flaws that I was doing prior to that got me to the relationship with them. And then it just came to a point where there was nothing that could not be put on the table. And still today we have conversations that help bring us closer. The idea of that they're my foundation of love, and I'm learning to be a better dad. I'm not a great dad at all. I'm a learning dad because I want to learn so I can show my kids how to be better parents through my flaws, and not without the idea of placing blame before
somebody else. And you know
right.
what? And the thing,
you are responsible. You made them.
And I think what the end result is that you're adding to your legacy. You adding to your legacy of not only being so accomplished doing so many things, but you add into your legacy of I'm able to do so much and be this person because I have looked at myself. I have readjusted myself. I have became transparent. And that's really like, okay, and that only thing that can make the children do, not only continue to strive for success because they know they got it in them because their dad had them in them,
right,
but they also can say, you know what, I can be transparent.
Absolutely.
I can be who I am because I can fall back on my dad.
Absolutely.
So when they start attacking me, I can call my dad and he can remind me, bump that.
Right. And you know, one of the things is we don't see as a culture men falling down and getting back up.
No.
We don't see that. And we can do it. You know, one of the things I saw at my last job was hundreds and hundreds of black men in shelters who have fallen down. And I've seen some get up. So this is not an impossible task. This is something you can do if you want it. And if you want it, if you can't want it for you, want it for the people that you made. I mean, at some point, you got to find a reason to move forward. And if you don't want to move forward, then you're going to have to get out of the way because we cannot accept any more excuses from this point on.
I think it all goes back to support system, who you actually got around you, who you actually have connected yourself with. And because the reality of that is like, and I was just thinking about when you were saying that the men that have came into my practice, they all have actually been connected to somebody. And that has been the key to like, okay, I need to make sure I'm okay. I need to make sure I get better. I'm not really trying to ruin no relationships. And if it wasn't to a woman, it was to their child.
Right.
It
Absolutely.
was to their child. And it was like, and it's really like, okay, I want to make sure that I stay in my place as I go through this change that I'm going through. But at the same time, I want to make sure I maintain all my relationships and continue to elevate instead of going down. I don't know
all relationships. Some of them got to go.
Well, you know, the ones with the kids. That's the ones that they really is trying to maintain. Whereas the ones with the females is more of looking at what are we doing? Are we building or are we just existing?
Are you talking about from a man and woman relationship? Well, I found that one of the things when I got my divorce was I was able to grow in leaps and bounds and not worry about how it affected my partner.
Exactly.
So when you're not growing at the same time, as you said, we're going to embark. We want to eat better. right? You say we want to, so we need to lose 20 pounds, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to change our diet. We're going to become vegans. Well, that's an idea for both of them.
Right.
Right. But when one says want to be a vegan, the other wants to be a state of carnivore, then you're like, well, there's a stretch in that. But you know what I'm saying? There's a stretch in the relationship because they want to maintain what they were. Well, I want you to live longer.
Right.
You know, I love you. I want you to live longer. Well, I'm a carnivore, so I'm going to keep eating.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay, all right. So I'm a carnivore. So the idea is I want to keep that part of my life, but I will make other concessions to live longer.
Right.
But some people just stop it. I'm not going to go with that new change.
Right.
But the idea I was able to do the change by myself is great. Now the idea of a relationship, I've got more fortitude, more understanding, more things about myself, which gives me a chance to be a better partner.
Exactly.
And that's because sometimes single people don't know that's your best time to grow.
Oh my God! I just told a girl that today.
That is your best time to grow. You know,
told a client
somebody
that today.
the show I was on earlier was talking about going from one relationship to the other. Is because they want to keep the flow of love.
That's not the flow of love, though, because you know when are you loving yourself?
That's
the
relationship love. Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you go from one relationship to another when you don't really stop and say what that I didn't like in that last relationship? I didn't like it because that's not how to love me.
If I jump in another one, then I don't have to do the work. If I jump in another relationship, I can just do the same 9 things that I did in the last relationship, and someone new is accepting those 9 things when you really need 20. Right. So, yeah, if you can't force yourself to be single long enough to understand who you are and do what I did was to get my foundation of love together, which makes everybody look different.
Right.
You know, it's a lot of things you're not going to accept because you've done the work and you love you.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a part of it. And that's why we write these books. We write these books. Well, I know I wrote my book. I wrote my book because I don't want people to go through what I went through when it was a simple idea of getting some truths. And if you can't get your truths when you write your book or whatever you embark on in your life to move forward, then you have to make a stand and say, I'm going to make the change anyway on my own.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I would like to help, but if I can't get the help, if I can't get the answers, then just go ahead and move forward. You'll get your answers one way or the other, but sometimes in asking, you're not going to get it. So,
I wanted to just, before we run out of time, I want to just let everybody know that I have an online parenting class that is taking enrollees now.
Yeah.
And you can become a beta tester for the online parenting course. All you have to do is go to bit.ly family time beta. That's bit.ly family time beta. And it's a 3-question application, and you know it's going to start up next week. Again, the name of the course is called How to Create a Healthy, Successful, Engaging with You, Self-Aware, Loving is an action word, child. Okay, so it's the ultimate goal in the course is to teach you how to create abundant, quality family time.
That's the second time I heard that word in 2 days, abundance.
Yeah, that's a real word. That's a real word. That's a real word for how you living right now.
Yeah, it wasn't made up, right?
It wasn't. Not.
So we're definitely going to take her information for the beta course and put it on my page.
Okay.
So do you have a flyer for it and everything?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to put everything on my page because we want to have better parents so we can have better kids, so we can have greater parents and we can have greater kids, because to me that's called evolution.
And we just want to stop some of the dysfunction with our culture. We want to just make sure that we're leaving a legacy and not, you know, nothing that somebody is not going to talk about later. We want to make sure that when Paul Posey Jr. speak of Paul Posey Sr., it's of complete pride and honor. You know, when my daughter speak of me, I want her to be able to speak of my work, not my weave. Okay, that's all. I want her to be able.
That's my girl.
Really,
oh yeah, that's my
thing. Understand
she is so
that,
cool.
You know, my mama served and my mama worked.
Yeah. All right, let's take this call. Welcome to the Neg2Pos Show. This is Paul Posey.
Paul Posey, how you doing? This is your cousin, Daryl Smith.
Hey, Daryl, how are you? Man, I love this guy.
I'm great. I just called in to say hello. I see what you're doing. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, man. Where you at today?
I'm still in Virginia.
Okay.
Still on the ship.
Okay, man. Man, you made my day, Daryl. You really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Daryl's in the Navy. Daryl, how long you been in the Navy now?
23 years and some change now.
Oh, so you done passed me now, right?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a little thing we got. That's my cousin, and he said he's gonna stay in longer and be greater than me. And I'm glad I set the tempo for Daryl to be in his greatness.
Mm-hmm.
You know you're always a role model, so you know. It started when you showed up to 1st Battalion, 6th Marines, the back door.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I love my cousin. Mm-hmm. All right, man. You got anything else for us?
Yo, I just the way I see it, life is too short.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? To be single, to be single, to learn how to love yourself. I mean, learning how to love yourself is a continuous process. You don't have to be single. You don't have to be single and stay single to learn how to love yourself.
No, you don't.
But it's a great place to start. But I see what you're saying. I just was saying it's kind of hard when you connected with somebody and you change it right in front of them and they're not ready for the change. That's kind of what I meant, Daryl.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
See, I see my family keeps me on point.
Yeah,
You got anything else? You got anything else, Daryl?
No.
All right.
Just wanted to give you a shout out.
All right. Thanks, man. Love you.
All right. Love you too.
Bye-bye.
You know, you don't have to be single to find yourself or grow and develop yourself, but in the process of you growing and you're developing yourself, you have to be aware that the people that around you might not want you to grow. They might not like for you to grow.
Mm-hmm. They like you just the way you are.
Yeah, it's like almost when you have a person that's been an alcoholic and now they're like, I'm going to be sober. Well, people really don't like that sober person. They like that. They like how you act when you were an alcoholic. We weren't ready for how you act when you are sober. So that's something that we have to learn. We have to learn to love you this way and accept you this way. And that's the same thing when you're doing self-discovery, period. And you're in a relationship or you out of a relationship. When you got to be ready for people to fall off. You got to be ready for your circle to change.
But I want to say Daryl is correct. If you're in a marriage, think about doing the change together, and that would really help. But if you can't, if you've ended your relationship already, take that time that you're by yourself to go 100 miles per hour into who you are. And man, I tell you what, I'm sad that I had to get my divorce, but I really didn't learn who I was until I did. Well, till she told me I was getting a divorce. When she told me, I had no choice but to get my act together because the only person I was left with was me and my son. And after my son left, it was just me. And I sat there and not tried to. I was doing inch by inch. Well, I thought I was making progress, but I wasn't. But then I got some help, and now I hit it at 100 miles per hour, adjusting back to who I thought I was. So whatever it takes for you to move, you got to be willing to not wait for negative stimuli. I say this all the time. Stop waiting for things to be bad to move forward. Stop waiting for you're in the gutter and you laying on your back and your back is wet from the water to make change.
The worst thing I hate is when I get a couple that come into therapy and they are on their last break. One of them is just so full that they're just already on checked out. And the only thing that goes through my head is like, why did y'all wait to now? What did you wait so late for to come in here and talk to somebody? So,
like my mom used to wait to get I don't know, remember back in the day, I don't know if y'all ever had your phone cut off, but they used to come in a pink. Hey, what you say? It used to come in a pink letter, the amount, and we're going to shut it off. And that's when I knew that when she didn't pay the phone, they can cut that off.
Right.
And then we get a new phone, and the new phone be one of the other kids' names. So this is where we learned that from about paying bills. Same way we learned about communication. Same way we learned that people tell us that they're suffering in love. And I don't believe that. I believe that somebody didn't understand what love is, and therefore there is suffering. Exactly. So if you want to be in a relationship, suffering is not a part of it. Pain is not a part of it. The only pain that should be in your relationship is childbearing.
Hey.
That's what you say. I mean, really, if you work on it, if you work on to have peace in your relationship, that means your communication has to be A1 and you have to be together on it, not one person communicating to the rest of the world, but anybody but you.
Exactly.
And that's what you find in your relationships. And so when I wrote my books, it's all about not just telling a story. It's about steps you can take to move forward. I hear a lot of testimonies. What I don't hear is the steps that you took to move forward. So just like I wrote in that book, I believe in the reconnection of kids with their parents with their kids. You know, that's one of the things I want to work on, is to add that to my repertoire of things that I'm doing in my life, is to have parents who never connect with their kids connect with them. Why? Because I hate the family union. Not the family reunion, the family union is when you show up to somebody's deathbed and you find out you got another cousin or you got another brother or another sister, and that's when you find out. I hate that, because that was so much love you could have tapped in years ago, but now you don't see people until you get to the funeral or to the deathbed, and you think you've really done something by telling your shame on your deathbed, or you in a coma and someone's telling the story for you, and a story you could have told, which we all need love, and the love comes from our foundation that was created when we birthed them.
Yep.
So I want to give a shout out to my kids who love me unconditionally, because I've always had a bad thought in my head about unconditional love, because I never got unconditional love. So you can't tell me about unconditional love if I never had it, because I don't know what that feels like. I know what it feels like now, but as growing up, it didn't. It always came into conditions, and I was conditioned not to feel, which hurts my family because they want love from me and I need love from them, and that's my new tornado.
Yep.
Is that swarm of love from my kids that's coming back to me because I'm in their life. I'm not the greatest at making phone calls, but when we do talk, I share everything I got. I leave it all on the table for them. It sometimes makes me sad. It sometimes makes me cry.
And that's part of living.
Is it?
That's part of living. That's not existing. That's living.
Yeah, it's living, but I'm trying to stop crying so much. That's how much I love them, because when I think about what I don't complain about what I didn't get anymore. I talk about what I'm giving and what I'm gathering to give, which makes their life much richer, because I know for me, I love my grandfather, the ground he walked on when the sun shine on him, even in the shade, because what he gave me, that small bit he gave me, was so solid for me. That's all I had. Him and Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah. Them just talking to me, having a conversation with me, that gave me just enough motivation to not make the turn right and be a thug, or turn and be a criminal, or do anything like that, because they cared about what they said to me, which resonated into who I am and who I became. So I want to be Mr. Johnson to other people when they talk to me, like my neighbors. I'm eventually trying to get my neighbors, the young boys in my neighborhood, to come in, because I talk to them because I care about them. And that's me being a mentor, surrogate dad, a neighbor, a great neighbor. Do something that's going to pay forward to these people to talk about you. Because when I see Mr. Johnson, he's 86 years old, he told me that it was because he wanted us to be good. He wanted us to be great kids, and he wanted to do his part. And I had to tell Mr. Johnson, mission accomplished, because those little conversations meant so much. And that's why I think that when he poured into me, that my life had that window that I can open up and says, this is Paul Posey. Not the Marine, not what happened to me, not what I didn't get, but the same gleam in my eye when I was talking to him, I became that person, and that's what we should be doing.
Amen.
It's all about tomorrow. It's all about turning this negative into a positive. Yes. You know, if anybody know my story, it was just me thinking that my life needed to change, and I wanted to do some life-changing things, and that's what I did. I became negative to positive, and I'm going to do that for like the next 9 years, because I'm going to really stop working in 9 years. When I hit 60, I'm not doing anything. But my plan is to give you everything I have for the next 9 years. So when my grandsons of age, they can sit and talk with me. They'll get some of my isms, some of my honesty, some of my ability to change without the negative stimuli to get that line I was talking about to go as straight as possible. Wiggle it a little bit, but you're going to go straight, and that's what we should be doing.
You're going to remember the legacy.
Absolutely. I keep forgetting to say one of the purposes was to have a legacy. The legacy is not about financial legacy. The legacy is about the traditions, the family isms, the things that we should and could be doing, and it's about love being handed down. We are coming to this point in our life where we recognize that our parents couldn't do what we're doing right now. They didn't have the information. They didn't have the reduction in oppression to make these changes. The pressure had to be off of them. And once the pressure got off of them, they just partied like 1999. But we right now have to get to work for tomorrow.
Yeah.
We are tomorrow's history, and we need to be doing tomorrow's history stuff.
And not allowing what the new technology and the new social media take over.
Absolutely.
Not allowing this to become the village to our children.
So you can find me on Facebook. You've seen my videos. You can find me on YouTube.
And
so
Instagram.
Right, and Instagram, and you can find me on Roku, on Status Network. I'm here every first and third Wednesday here with the Neg2Pos Show. Hey, keep calling in. I appreciate those people. I'm surprised my friend Rhonda McKenzie didn't call in, but she normally does. But thank you, Rhonda. Thank you calling in, Charlie. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, AJ. Please call in. Let me know what you think and how you're feeling. Why? Because I'm getting pretty good at this thing, and I want to take you on the journey with me.
Yes.
So, hey, if we got a little time, we can hit another video, and then we can go ahead and take it home. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I tell you, I can't give enough praise for what you do. If you have any idea that you're scared to go to talk to somebody, you're suffering by yourself. Go out and get you some help. Find somebody to help you to be who you can be. She unlocked me. And that's why you see me moving at 100 miles per hour.
You can reach me at 678-212-5146 or on the web at dsgeorgia.com. Georgia spelled all the way out.
I will make sure I put all the information on my page. That way you can contact her if you want a fabulous life and make some motions. This is a person that can help you do it. And I
am not Jesus. I am Pandora Divine.
They say you're not Jesus. No, Jesus. I think that's a whole different lane that you can add with your mental health. Some people need Jesus. Some people need Jesus.
They do.
I'm not going to argue about that. But you can always add to it. And sometimes in your walk, what it means is you're going to go someplace and meet somebody, and you're going to have those conversations to help you be the maximum you can be.
Yes.
So.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I've been waiting to have you. I just knew you was going to be on the show, and I knew you had something to share with the people so they can.
I'm open to coming back. So
absolutely.
It was fun for me.
We good? Yeah, I'm waiting on you. All right, dear. Hey, have a wonderful day. Be powerful.
Peace.
Peace.